Something for kitties, something for biddies, something for everyone. It's Halloween tonight.
Something that's scary, something that's hairy, something for everyone. It's Halloween tonight. Hey Kirk, it's Alan. Hey, wondering where you guys are. It's I think about 2:45 or so, or maybe it's a little later. So hoping you guys are still coming, because there's a very limited amount of stuff that just Garrett and I can do. Here, David. Okay. Keep holding that one. Hold this one like right with it. Yeah, now there's no way this stuff's going to support the Great Pumpkin. I'm hoping if I string a few of them together, maybe it will. I tried baling wire, but that was ridiculous. I think you can call back on this phone line. This is my friend Scott's phone. So call us back and let us know where you are. We're waiting for you. Okay, bye.
Nothing for work, nothing for school. Bring on the witches, warlocks, and ghouls.
On Halloween night when the pumpkins glow, you might hear laughter from down below. It's coming from the devil, 'cause he's thinking way back to the time he got even with a miser named Jack. Now if you'd like to know how that story goes, you better ask someone who really knows. And no one tells the story of that miser so mean, like a great big pumpkin on Halloween.
This is for our retrospective show. When we had to do our hearse ride number, we didn't want to drag the big one out for just one, 30 seconds, so we made a little hearse.
Happy Halloween, now don't look surprised. Tonight is the night when the spirits rise and pumpkins come to life on this night each fall. Let me tell you about the man who started it all.
86 or 87, I think, was my first year here. Yeah, it's been a long time.
All right, well, so this is always the toughest part, getting all the big stuff out. Once it's out here, now we can start assembling the set and everything. But right now, we're going to have our first rehearsal as soon as our last two cast members arrive today. And this is interesting. Most of these people will be hearing the show for the first time, and this is probably the weirdest show we've ever done, so we'll see what they think of it. And it should be interesting. I've got most of the music. The composer has done everything but the last verse for me, so we'll play that, and I'll sing it for them, and then we'll let them try out their parts and see how it goes. All right, well, in all the excitement here, I thought there'd be a longer gap somehow between the time of bringing out the sets and the time of the rehearsal, but oh well, here we are late. But anyway, two of my people haven't shown up, so I'm rushing to get the scripts. And this is usually how it runs. Everything's running just a little behind, I'm guessing that a few haunters can relate to that, although there are probably many that are like done with their displays already, 2 weeks out. You are leaning more toward doing Legree, or are you still undecided?
It's
ultimately waffling between Garrett doing these two different roles.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you, of course, but I could do either one, really.
What's a gut level feeling? Basically, I'm offering you either part you want. Whichever way you want to go with.
You get to cast yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's just so there's basically two trains of thought that's going through my head. On one side is Legree is very easy. The other train of thought is Ghost Dad has more lines and more stage time.
Right. Exactly.
So it's greed versus sloth.
I think I always dug Halloween as a little kid. I remember that like during the rest of the year, I would like sneak into the Halloween decorations and pull them out. And I remember we had these glow-in-the-dark ones, and I'd sneak into the closet and look at them, little owl and cat. And so I was always kind of into that. Anyway, my grandmother, this is of course the infamous story because I tell it every year before the show, but my grandmother was the neighborhood witch. She lived over on Malcolm and then Glendon. And she would dress it. She made her witch costume and everything, and she had her own cauldron. So she was kind of a local fixture, and she started getting us to help her with her display. So we would make spooky recordings for this pumpkin-headed ghost that that would be out in front of her porch each year, and we'd all sit around in her living room going, woo! You know, it was like a 5-year-old. I can remember making these ridiculous noises, cats and stuff.
We're going to get together and see just what the production is. Alan's Full is the name of it, but I have no idea what's involved this year's show. I believe it's a song, but no idea what's involved, so we're probably going to see the script for the first time. So we'll just get a general idea of what's going on and who's going to play what characters and who's willing to do what. And probably most importantly, we'll agree on when we could actually get together for actual rehearsals. But Alan's doing better this year than last year. He's like a whole 2 weeks. It's like a whole 2 weeks before Halloween, so that's better than he was doing last year.
When I was about 10, one year she was in this old folks group, and every month they would meet at somebody's house for their monthly meeting. So this one year, it was in October that it hit at her house. So she asked my sister Lanita and I if we would help her, you know, with her party. She said, if you help me with my party, I'll let you have a party here. So that's kind of how it got started. So Lanita and I both, you know, we made a hanging man, Harold, and of course her traditional pumpkin-headed ghost, and I don't know, we did a couple other things. We did a little graveyard out of old cardboard tombstones from Stan Fuji's dad's architectural firm that made the cardboard.
So I got these 2 drawers, which I guess I could show you, but it's, of all the files from all the years of Halloween, of all the Halloween shows. And so here I've got the oldest one, which, so you'll notice it's pretty thin. This is pretty much all the shows of the 70s. Now as the years go by, and especially when we get into musicals, suddenly they start getting a lot bigger, but taking up a lot of space. But anyway, so this goes all the way back. You see, first file here, 71 to 73. Not a whole lot in there. Let's see what we got in here. This is just checking it out. My Uncle Gene wrote this out for me when we first said we were going to have a Halloween party with my grandmother. My grandmother asked us to do it, and this was this is one of these things I think where you go through and you find and you take out the different, you know, body parts supposedly, and you're really feeling, you know, whatever it is, grapes for the eyes or whatever. So he wrote out this whole poem here. So that's probably the oldest thing I have in my Halloween files. This is an agenda from 1973 party, you know, what we're going to do at the party. See, arrivals, tell plans, tell jokes, go to McDonald's. The minister's cat, which we always did, is the witch's cat.
Crash bang, what was that? You really hope it was the cat. You listen closely, everything is quiet as a mouse. Breathe deep, what a scare, you're so relieved that no one's there. The truth is that a skeleton is living in your house. Leaping, creeping, walking, talking, how they love to prance. Every time you move your bones, you're doing the skeleton dance. Rolling, strolling, whirling, twirling, each time you advance. The skeleton who's inside you is doing the skeleton dance.
Oh, meant to do a whole bunch of copies before I left the house today, and running short on time. Familiar theme in this film, I think. I see a lot of other people's haunts, and I'm in this group Cal Haunts, although I rarely make meetings, which I should, but and a lot of people are really ambitious in the technical stuff. And like my friend Noah, we were just talking about, you know, he sets up this very elaborate graveyard and stuff. And a lot of this stuff I probably couldn't do, or I guess I could find out how. But what I'm proudest of about, I think, is that our show is completely different every year.
When a hoot owl hoots and a bat flies by, a strange floating light might catch your eye. It's Jack of the Lantern wandering alone. 'Cause when he was a man, he was bad to the bone.
So it's just an original entity, you know. And maybe twice we've actually repeated an old show for various reasons, but for the most part, every year you come, you're going to see something different than you saw last year. And I like that I like to keep people guessing. This show is about as different from the last 2 shows as it could possibly be. So I like that aspect, you know, that people never quite know what to expect when they come here. And I like to keep it that way, you know. They know it'll be musical, and beyond that, who knows?
X-rays pictures off for someone to look at ASCC. She ought to be here now. But I came directly here and she stopped there first.
I have no idea where he wants this.
Well, how about here?
Works for me.
I remember when I first came out to LA, the first Halloween I remember, I had my first apartment. I was living in West Hollywood as a late owl kind of person. After watching Letterman or something, I noticed these spotlights out the window. I walked down a couple of blocks and there was the West Hollywood Halloween party thing. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Then the next year, I ran into Alan through some friends, said to come by his Halloween thing. I was amazed at how he had put together this amazing thing with special effects. It wasn't a musical yet. But from that point on, from the next year on, I've been helping him with his shows. And it's something like 15 years.
So we have a wall here in our hallway, which is a couple years out of date, but it's basically the programs from all of the musical shows, starting with Halloween Hysteria back here. And then it's each year, Halloween, from 1990, and then Halloween Carol, Trick or Treating on Mount Street, Ghost Come Out of Halloween, 20 Haunting Years. That was our first retrospective show. Ballad of Jack of the Lantern, when it was originally done. Counting the New Witch Queen. Return to Monster Street. That's when Monster Street became musical. This year's show is Sitting in a Pumpkin Patch, and I think it's probably one of the weirdest things we've ever done. So we'll see what you think. You will see here, I made a tentative casting list here, but you notice everybody has question marks because I'm amenable to switching around roles if people want to. To some degree, the girls are more locked in at this point than the guys, and that's because there are 4 female characters, 2 are witches, 2 are women that are considered potential romantic interests for me. So I don't want my sister to play one of those, and I don't think it'd probably be appropriate for you to play one of those because you're a lot younger than I am. So I think the girls' roles are a little more locked in place. But like I said, there's 2 parts that Garrett could play, and I think when we do a read through, he's gonna read both and sort of decide which way he wants to go on it. We could do if you want, we could do an in rhythm read through, and then I could do music. And
is that like Astro Boy?
My character is called Pumpkin Boy, although thank God that is never referred to in the script. So that's just what I called him. Its launching point is, it's a great pumpkin Charlie Brown. However, the show really has very little to do with that. So it kind of starts off with there, but then it goes in another direction. After a whole childhood of Halloweens, I still couldn't understand what it means. And it probably saddens me, even though I'm grown, to spend my Halloweens alone. As you know, back in 1990 we went musical with the shows, and so we did, Halloween Hysteria in 1990, Halloween Carol, which was a little mini musical in 91, Ghost Man Halloween 93, Witch's Daughter 94, and Jack of the Lantern 95.
Well, Jack thought the devil was there, for his soul said, "Let's have a drink first, I'll pay the toll." But when they were done and Jack had to pay, he cried, "I'm broke, but I've thought of a way."
So we released this little tape in 96. We decided, we went back and took all the tracks that had been sung live and recorded them, because a lot of the voices actually were in the original productions. They're the voice of Samhain or the voice of Pumpkins or whatever, so they had to be on the tape. But when we took all that other stuff, we made a little album out of it. We made a little cassette, and I think we only did like 50 copies or something. We gave them to people and sold them at the show and stuff. And then a few years ago, we decided, I guess last year we decided to update it. We released this album, Halloween Hysteria, and Other All Hallows Frolics. And basically we sold this at the show to a few people. Mostly it was given away to the cast and friends again. And I wanted to get it on Amazon, but there was one track way back when we were doing Halloween Halloween Carol back in '91, and Mark Bourne, who did our music that year, he had all these very eclectic instruments, very strange wind instruments and things, and we had this one rap song because we had the Ghost of Halloween present, and we figured, well, he would rap, right, in the present. He's a pumpkin head, but he's a rapping pumpkin head. So Mark didn't really feel that he had what it took to do a rap number or whatever. So Dove actually came up with a piece of music which I thought I'd never heard of, and we used it on the track. And years later, I discovered it was like a big hit on the radio. So anyway, we figured, well, you know, maybe putting this on Amazon with this existing track on there, not such a good idea. So Henry Lim, my composer for now 7 shows, redid it for us, and so we've been re-recording, and now we're just inserting that into the album. And while we're at it, we're tweaking a couple other little things, and then we'll have a finished version of this. So hopefully, I'll get this on Amazon within the next 2 or 3 days. And yes, we have a Halloween album that we are selling. We did it last year, and it encompasses 8 of our first 15 shows, and we basically put a lot of them together over the years. This year's show, if you like the music that you hear, and you want to hear it in a more complete version, and you want to hear the soundtrack from last year's Sleepy Hollow show, that album is actually this close to done. We're going to have it out for tonight, but so if anyone's interested, we're taking pre-orders on that as well. My lovely bride over there will be selling albums following the performance. You can either buy the old album or pre-order the new album, or do both. If you buy 1 copy of either, it's $13. If you buy any combination of 2, it's $20 per
I'm doing some processing right now, just normalizing this audio for a line that Alan does in this song.
Is this the Scourge line that we had to redo?
Line. You can hear it here.
Yeah, we had to redo. Well, actually, did we have to redo it since we got the original recordings?
Actually, I believe that's true. I believe they do give candy at the mall.
That's the line. Yeah, I think it sounds fine there.
It does?
Okay, listen. That sounds fine. my big rap number. Rapped once for Halloween and once for Molten Voltage, and that's, I think, the extent of my rapping. Molten Voltage is a band of intergalactic space gods that have, been around since the beginning of the creation of the world. And some people think that me and some of my friends happen to look kind of like them. But every now and then they come down, they play a concert on Earth, and there's this lead singer, Thorax Red Giant, who people say resembles me. And they did a song on that album called Wake the Dead. We're Gonna Wake the Dead. And I always just thought it had a Halloween sensibility, although of course it doesn't actually mention Halloween, which is, normally I consider that an absolute taboo for a Halloween song. You should always say Halloween somewhere in it, but this one doesn't. But we may do it, there's a thought that we may do it at this year's show as a little opening 5-minute number to the main number, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen yet or not. It's kind of if we do it, it's kind of a tribute to my friend Chet Meisner, who many said resembled Amps Blister, the lead guitarist for Molten Voltage. And Amps has apparently left Molten Voltage as well to go on his journey to the end of the universe. But we haven't been able to find the original tracks and pull the lead vocal out. So what I'm thinking is, if we pull it off, we may do like a shadow show for the opening number. Have a sheet across the front of the stage, you don't see the main set, and do the entire thing as a shadow show, just literally playing the original track. And I might be behind it, mouthing along, lip syncing with it or whatever. But normally I don't do lip syncing in my shows. But if it was a shadow show, well, what the heck? And it'd be pretty easy. You basically just need a band and a bunch of zombies attacking him. So it's not it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. I'd like to, because I'd like to do something. Actually, in my own brain, this show kind of does have something to do with not necessarily so much with Chet, but with the whole death issue. It's kind of, if you go through all my shows, there's kind of a running theme of the whole, what does Halloween really mean? What does it have to do with death? What about Halloween fun death versus real, gee, I just lost somebody and I'm grieving death, what's the relationship there? And it's been tackled a few times. We did a show a few years back, 2001, my brother committed suicide, Brother Ron. I wrote a show that year called Under a Pumpkin Moon. And it was very much a tribute to him, and it's about a guy on Halloween who's lost his friends. It doesn't specify how he lost them, but my presumption, of course, was that they had passed away in some capacity. And he meets this group of trick-or-treaters that's wandering the street, and something about them calls to him, and they keep sort of singing this little song, come with us, and trick-or-treat, and have fun. And as he follows them, he gradually realizes that they aren't alive, that they're spirits.
and eventually, but makes friends with them anyway. And there's this one that he really senses there's something familiar about him, but he never gets to see behind the mask. And at the end of it, they have to go off. It's dawn, and they have to disappear into the mist. And he wants to go with them, but they say, no, you have to stay here and make new friends. But always remember us. And so it was, and I guess the moral comes when they're in a cemetery and they see these people grieving by these gravestones, and they sing, honor them, but do not grieve, for they live on if you believe. Anyway, and basically that's it. I mean, basically what they want for you is to go on and live your life. So that was certainly true with Chet. I mean, Chet was a huge fan of the Halloween shows and helped us out a lot. So I have no question that he would want us to go on and be doing this. But I'd like to do something, because he had so much to do with it over the years. But anyway, so this year's show, there's a question about, the skeletons are all saying, it's all about death, and the pumpkins are it's all about life. And I guess it's about both. That's kind of the moral of the show, that Halloween it looks at death, but it's also embracing life and fun and everything else. So it's a mixture of the two, and that's kind of what makes the holiday so unique and special.
Jack had cut through the graveyard, heading on home, when death stood before him, all shimmering bone. He said,
"Stop, Jack, your time has come."
"No, Jack's between a brother!" And boy did Jack run, but death being death wasn't fooled at all. He drew himself up about 40 feet tall. He snatched Jack up and squeezed him as well. Said,
"When would it be, Jack, heaven or hell?"
We do an annual thing at the beginning of the month called the Eve of the Black Month, which some folks out there may be familiar with, but it's starting at about 85, and actually the funny thing is Chet was just out from New Jersey that year, and he'd come out and just got together with Laura. So there on his first, a few months down the line, he's being picked up in a hearse and given a black robe and plastic pumpkin, and of course it was new to us too, but it must have been particularly odd to him, because we all had kind of the same bizarre sensibility. But
a pumpkin moon was rising, but poor Pete was feeling down, for it was Halloween, but this year no one was around. He'd bought himself a costume, but he hadn't put it on, for now his friends with whom he'd once spent Halloween were gone.
But Chet got fit right into it. He was there from the beginning, and so this year when we did the Eve, we talked about Chet a bit. It was kind of emotional. I actually got kind of messed up a little, because I saw Laura was kind of tearing up, and I'm going, is this okay, or is this a bad thing? But it actually went okay. Chet wrote a song years ago, very shortly after he'd come out, called Weird Uncle Alan. And as I said at the Eve, I have no idea who it was about, but it's all about the Eve of the Black Month, and these, and this guy who meets this weird uncle, this guy Alan, that takes him this weird place where all these people are in black robes, and there's wires and lights and a big huge skull. And anyway, so it was appropriate for the Eve of the Black Month. I recited the lyrics to that, and then as a tribute to Chet, we always have a pumpkin in the middle of it. When we do the Eve, you stand in a circle, and there's a little table with a skull and a pumpkin. Once again, the dichotomy of the life and death images of Halloween, which are again very prominent in this year's show. And we all took that pumpkin, and each of us banged it on our head once in honor of Chet, because of course on the eve of his wedding we had played the pumpkin game, and about 5 or 6 of us had pounded this pumpkin on our head until we broke it in two. Obviously I'm doing other things. It's not my main job, so it probably got written over the course of a week or two, just kind of adding on to it. And as I'd write it, I'd keep thinking, this is getting really, really long for a single song, Now, one of my great handicaps over the years is that I've never learned to play an instrument or to write music down or anything like that. So it was just kind of a handicap, because one of the things I love to become maybe professionally as a songwriter, but I probably should actually learn some of that if I'm ever going to do that. But so the way I do it depends. It depends in terms of which comes first, lyrics or song. It depends on the show. Like for instance, with the Sleepy Hollow show, I had the music
in my head since like 2003. It was on the Murder on Monster Street show, and I got the come on along right now and follow me on down to Sleepy Hollow. Anyway, that whole little tune of the chorus was in my head for like 3 years, and so I kept. Each year I'd say, "Oh, we're going to do it this year," and I'd write a little bit of the show, and then get sidetracked, and then realize there was no way I'd finish in time. So it ended up not. It took 3 years for that show to actually occur in 2006. You know, when I come up with a tune that I like, because I have no way of writing it down. I don't have a little portable tape recorder anymore, so I actually will go to my answering machine and leave it as a message for myself, and there it stays. And then I'll usually have it running around my head a couple days, and then I'll go back and check. And I've invariably changed it a little bit since then, but sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. When I've got the whole thing and I figured out all the tunes, I record it. I've been using, actually the last couple of years, I've been using my video camera. I just like sing the songs in the video camera, transfer that onto a cassette tape, and send it off to Henry Lim, who then takes it from there.
Look at the devastation left behind by the Southland wildfires. Diminished winds and rising humidity are helping firefighters to finally start winning the battle, a battle that is now in its 5th day. More than a dozen wildfires continue to burn around the Southland. But some good news, 3 of 4 fires in LA County are 100% contained this morning. The fires have burned over 695 square miles. More than 1,600 homes are destroyed. The State Department of Insurance estimates the damage at more than $1 billion.
2 panels, the pumpkin patch and that one window stayed up with the tree. So the tree didn't get smashed, that was good. But everything else blew forward and got crunched on things and whatnot. So now everything is back up to where it was when you last saw it, except for one tiny little side panel, one of the things to help hold Samhain up. But everything else is back up. So basically we're 3 days behind. We're back where we were 3 days ago. Sunday show is looking dubious to me, but
Yeah,
we'll see how it's going. I mean,
I
won't know for a couple of days for sure. If we get a lot.
Thrives under pressure.
It's true.
So
I'm gonna load up my whole thing. Oh, I see. I'm multi-track. That's what I want.
I'm going to sacrifice this cat, right? So I'm trying to save its life. So
Open
I try
session.
I'm a witch, and I try every witch spell that I can think
here we
of to
go.
get this cat back and save this cat's life from these druids that are going to kill it, right? So then what happens is, finally, in complete desperation and exasperation, because nothing's worked, I just reach out and go, "Give me that cat!" and grab it out of their hands. So this is my famous line from 16 years ago, or
Well,
something
on
like
the
that, from
recording,
1991.
she was more like, "Give me that cat!"
Is that why it was?
Which will probably do the same thing to your camera that did to our recording. Very, very overmodulated on that "give me." So.
Oh, it was too much then.
So,
that's
yeah,
why we had to
so that's why we
do
had
it
to
last
re-record that
week,
line,
yeah,
yeah.
whenever it was. So we
Whoa,
we did the line.
last week from a show that was like, what, 15 years ago?
1991, 16 years ago.
16 years ago, and you're recording a track last week.
Thought of a girl I'd met once or twice and thought to ask her out would be nice. And there is just no beating the price of sitting in a pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch on Halloween.
We could also all do this together.
Might as well.
There we go. We can find it.
Slide it up.
Next to the old town cemetery, there had once been a circle of old oak trees where the witches would dance
That's
in
you.
the October breeze. But someone destroyed every single tree. Now it's pumpkins as far as the eye can see.
Patreon.
So Wanda and I, we stopped real quietly, cause that farmer scared both her and me.
I'll shoot anybody I see who's stealing from a pumpkin patch.
And then
Oh, I see
take
it.
out my vocal.
I found your line.
That's how I'm going to say
Unless
it.
you say it more than once.
Actually,
Farmer McGee, the very, very angry Scottish
I'll
pumpkin
leave
farmer.
that there and take out
Did he have black slaves? Like one named Uncle Tom by any chance?
my tent back. That's what I call all my other voices.
Oh, that was Simon Legree, not Farmer.
Time. No, it's
So Wanda and I, we stopped real quietly, cause that farmer scared both her and me.
I'll shoot anybody I see who's stealing from a pumpkin patch.
We
You just love that, don't you?
pumpkin, huh?
Yeah, that's the
So the
thing.
green is a Scotch.
That's the thing that gets
Sounds
everybody
like
whenever I say that line.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets people. It's the pumpkin patch. Because I mean that was completely my interpretation. Because when I was working with this and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to play the character, because you know I mean he usually is pretty minimalistic on how he wants the characters done. It's like pretty much it's actor's
talking about
interpretation. Yeah.
Okay.
So I looked at this thing and I was just like, well, how am I gonna do this, right? And then I just decided, well, you know what? This is supposed to be a funny character.
Okay.
And I'm just like, well, what's the funniest thing I can do? I can do a pretty funny Scotsman.
Cool.
Well,
So
let's
you're the
well,
one that
let's
came
give
up
it
with
a
the
shot,
Scotsman
shall
idea,
we?
you say?
That was all me.
Did you
That was
say
all
they're
me.
changing his name to McGee?
Well, yeah, because Legree
Well,
is.
Legree was French, I guess.
Yeah, okay, I was right on that. Okay.
I'll
Alright.
shoot any booty I see. He's
All right.
stealing from me
Yeah, everything
pumpkin
else
patch.
turned off, right?
I see. I can't do French accent very well.
Yeah.
I'm practicing.
No,
that one.
McGee sounds good.
You know. Anyway, okay.
Farmer-
Let's,
Oh look,
you
it's
ready to give it a
the
shot?
bad guy.
Ready
Farmer
to give
the
it a
bad
go?
That sounds good. Farmer the bad guys. That would be
Ready?
funny. I know some theories
Okay,
might call someone
we're gonna do a
something like
take here.
Alright.
That's quiet on set. Oh wait, hang on. Need some help, Mom?
that.
Heading
Hi,
for
Mom.
the rest of it? Go to the bathroom?
How old is you?
How old is she? 86 and almost and a half.
Make sure I left everything-
Yeah, November 5th she'll be 86 and a half.
Wow. You should meet my grandfather. He's I think what is it about 84, 85 years old, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you're a lot younger than us. This is our mom, not a grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather. Yeah, he's about that age, but yeah, he plays golf.
Oh, really?
Carries his
That's
own golf
amazing.
bag. He runs and jumps and
Yeah.
plays and he does everything. I mean, he's in amazing shape. But of course, he was a fisherman for like 25 years when he was
Oh.
younger,
Mhm.
and this was way back in the day when basically when they were on the fishing boats, instead of having
So
like
do you
a
have
winch.
nets, or-
Instead of having like a winch pull up the nets, they would have 15 really
Guys
big muscly
pull-
guys
yeah.
grab the thing,
Yeah,
and
I've
he
seen
did that
that.
for like 25 years. So he's like this
Wow.
mountain of muscle. What do you think?
That's sad, because I kind of want that little
So Alan, is this pumpkin boy supposed to be a boy? A little boy?
What?
This pumpkin boy supposed to be a little boy?
No, he says in the beginning he's growing up.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. This
He's
is
going back and telling a story about
This one
years ago.
Susie would hate, and that it refers to grown people as boys and girls.
Yeah, no, it's got a few idiosyncrases in it.
When
Whoa,
you
whoa,
thought
hold on,
of a
hold on.
girl you met once or twice, is this a grown lady actually? Is
Hold
it,
on.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're way overanalyzing this.
And then everybody all together after they say that. All right, loves them goes to party the most. We'll have a ball with friends, one and all, together in a pumpkin patch. Your left arm up. Pumpkins can kind of bounce. You can refer over to them. They can bounce right. Then the caretaker comes out from this side. Caretaker comes out and bows. The farmer comes out and bows on the other side. Then you all point to Samhain. So, shall we try it with music?
Yes.
Once more.
What time is it?
It's 20 after.
I don't think, yeah, until we get
If anybody has a problem, I can.
We need to drum up a couple of stagehands, which we have no stagehands right now. Lots of things here that require help. Won't happen on their own. All right, are we ready?
What the heck do you think you're doing, sitting in the pumpkin patch? Oh, that's right. Oh, you get out of here. You can do freaking whatever you want. I'm gonna shoot you all. Trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot again. Now the rinse repeat.
Who fought the rinse and got shot down. While the kids trick-or-treated all over town with a sheet full of holes. Charlie Brown walked for blocks. The bottle anybody gave was a bag full of rocks. All right, then you refer to the skeletons. And then off to the pumpkins on the other side. Then caretaker comes out. Then Farmer McGee. All right, then Cemetery Girl and Wanda.
Oh, Cemetery Girl.
And then I step
jump up, maybe back here, I don't know. And then we all take hands and.
Thank you.
Well, all right. Let's get here at 6.
We're having a costume.
I don't think there's going to be
Oh,
enough.
like a dress rehearsal or something?
Let's see if we have enough there that will even allow people to watch.
Well, one you want. She's watch the other you don't.
All right, so that's 6 o'clock on Sunday, everybody. Is that okay?
6 o'clock, really?
Oh, 6 on Sunday? Okay.
Well,
Seems so late.
what were you thinking? Oh, you want to do it earlier?
Well, I don't know. I was envisioning like 4 or 5 or something.
Say 5. 5? Does anybody have a problem with getting here at 5 on
Dress
Sunday?
rehearsal?
I hope not.
Dress rehearsal, yeah. Bring your costumes. And bug me
costume.
about, yeah.
Alan, did you bring my costume? And you realized, oh, that was your candy.
So I really thought by Friday night we'd have a lot more to set together and we'd be a lot closer to being done. And, it's kind of disappointing that we're pretty much where we were
Wait
last
till they're actually passing it out.
Saturday before the set blew down. Just about at the same point. A little further than that, but not much. There was a year in '95 when Susie and I were in Ireland until the 26th. So we literally came back and threw an entire show together in about 4. Well, yeah, I think I went to Disneyland the first night. So I remember we had 4 days to put it together, and that included recording the whole song with all the music and everything. So in a way, we're ahead of that because at least all the music's down and most of the cast more or less knows their parts. So it's really just at this point it's a rush to get the setup and get the effects in place. Can get that done. And find a cast member to play our ghost and another dancing skeleton and a couple of stagehands. That should be interesting by Sunday. Yeah, we had some problems with wind, but considering that like over 1,000 people in California had the houses burned down, I feel like I got off kind of easy. But yeah, what you see was pretty much up on Saturday, and by Sunday morning when I came back, it was down and broken. And so I spent the next day just fixing the flats and stuff like that, and we didn't get them back up until Tuesday, actually, is when I got somebody to come over. Matt, my friend, came over and we got them back up. So we're about 3 days behind then, and it slipped a little farther the last couple of days just because of other stuff I've been doing. So anyway, I'm hoping, I have nobody scheduled to come tomorrow. I'm hoping that people by now know that the weekend before we're desperate, and we'll manage to drag a few people out here tomorrow and Sunday and get, if I can have all of the set pieces and everything, and spend those last couple of days then getting the pumpkins into place and the skeletons in place and stuff like that. That would be good. And it saddens me, even though I'm grown, to spend my Halloween alone.
Oh, we need to have you sign. Laura, you get us to sign.
Well, that's okay.
Change the date a little bit. It's the same banner that we've used for a few years. Yeah, it's usually a big graveyard out there. I'm a little disappointed. A couple of ghosts. Kind of slacking.
How are you? I got 3.
I think it's important to teach kids to start doing pumpkins and artwork early on. I was wondering if the DJ actually liked my songs. If he liked it, he might play the other ones. If he, is indifferent to it, then probably. Look at that skeletons. That is cool.
All right, we're gonna twist it up a little bit here. Yes, your dancers around the house. Prepare breeze.
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna come in here.
Has he played anything from it, or?
Not yet, but he will.
Okay, go.
Very good.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot. Halloween Hoot, 2007. So I'm thinking about this. I've been saying for a while, I think, I remember going to Halloween Hoot when I was like maybe 2nd grade. But then I started thinking, I actually remember being even littler than that and doing the fishing pole thing where you throw in the thing and you throw in a fishing pole and they clip something to it and you pull it out. I remember that when I was real little. And I had older siblings who all went here, so I've probably been coming here since birth. It's mostly a nostalgic thing for me. I mean, I think that I usually try to do the haunted house, which actually, interestingly enough, they never had those when I was a kid. The first haunted house that they did at the Halloween Hoot was done, for a couple of years they did it over 20th Century Fox on their lot because they had some parents who were there or something like that. And the first time they ever did a haunted house, Bill Goodwin and I did it. You can. I'm gonna find Pauline and find out and see. We'll let her know that she must have forgotten to give the DJ the CD. It'd be nice to get a few songs played if we're giving away like 5 of them anyway.
is just.
Number 17, right?
Yeah. I'll list like 4 tracks. One of them's like almost 10 minutes long. Do you want to play that?
No,
I'll put 2 of them for you.
How long is it?
The Ballad of Jackson Lantern is a different one. It's about 10 minutes. It's all like, but it's pretty long. Okay, I'll put 3 of them for you then. No, this one's Halloween Hysteria.
It was dark and it was lonely. I went walking, just me only, out into the graveyard on that night. Oh, so quiet, oh, so scary. Something big and something hairy growled at me and gave me quite a fright. I saw black cats crawling, witches flying, someone screamed like they were dying. It was really quite a ghoulish scene. I was worried, I was shaking.
Last time I heard this at the Hoot was when I DJ'd for an hour about 10 years ago or something. Lots of people used to come and know me here, but that doesn't happen as much lately. But
Sitting in the pumpkin patch is at the corner of Midsdale and Missouri. Tuesday and Wednesday nights, that was a little sampling of the music you'll hear and the things you'll hear there that night. Go check it out for sure. It's a great time for everybody.
and then of course there's the baked goods. That's really the most important thing about the Hoot. You gotta get some good Halloweeny cupcakes and cookies and stuff like that.
Alright, very good. We have
Another fine year at the Hoot with a bounty of Halloween splendor here. But this was always so spooky, and sneak into the courtyard. And my friends and I, you can't really see it because behind that bush, there's this little staircase that goes up to a little room over the garage, and they used to have a broken window up there. So it was always like, ooh, spooky. And we'd sneak up the stairs and try to peek in the broken window. It's very cool. And back there, there's a little shed you could see. There was like a little fence there, and you couldn't see. But inside the shed, there was somebody had drawn this witch on the wall. So that was cool too. It was like, ooh, let's go back and see the witch. That is my grandmother's home. That's my first Halloween impressions and memories are here. That's when my grandmother was the neighborhood witch, and we'd inside that patio there we'd set up her ghost figure with the pumpkin head, and we'd all sit around the living room there and make spooky recordings together, my brothers and sisters and I, and my brother would put in a little loop tape. And woo! So on Halloween night, they come up in the glowing headed pumpkin ghost with all their spooky voices. And so those are my earliest memories. She moved out of there when I was about 6, but that's kind of where it all started.
Well, actually, I've never acted in the plays, just behind the scenes, construction and painting and all that good stuff.
Well, I bought one this morning for $15, and then Wendy went to a place today to get pumpkin. She did better than I, but basically, bottom line is they gave her 4 more for free.
He called me this morning after he'd already been to a pumpkin patch and got the first bill.
Are you okay?
So I assumed that he'd also got the pumpkins, but no. So he calls a couple hours later, says, I need you to go to some store in Pasadena that I'd never heard of and get rope light. And I said, no. And he said, and I also need a whole bunch of pumpkins. And I said, well, maybe, whatever. So after I hung up, I felt bad for him. I went to Long's because I knew they had Christmas stuff, and they had rope light, so that was good. And they had some pumpkins. And I drove past Whole Foods where they had a lot of pumpkins, so I thought I'd see how much they were. So they were actually having a sale. It was 4 pounds for $1, so that was great. And I'm loading up all these pumpkins, and I'm talking to the parking lot guy, and he's what he needs pumpkins for. I'm going to be in his play. He says, oh, I'm surprised you don't want our free hay. I was like, just say something in here. What? So I loaded as much of it into my car as I could. My trunk wouldn't close. I thought I was going to be arrested driving over from Brentwood. And I made it and found some people to help me unload it. And then I went back and got the rest of it.
For those arriving, there's no chance.
We got 4 bales of hay for free.
All right, here's the deal. We have a bunch of people out here. Everybody here? A bunch of people who want to see the show. They apparently all seem to understand they're not going to see the show, but they seem to want to watch a rehearsal or whatever.
75% of the show.
So why don't we try that now?
And 100% of us.
We have a dancing skeleton.
We have pumpkins that won't actually, color org.
They won't?
Well, not if there's not a soundtrack for them to do it to.
Okay.
We have, and they're not even all, I don't even have lights in all of them yet. But we can sort of explain that the pumpkins are singing.
Okay.
We have a ghost dad, although, should I just do all the parts that are missing vocally, or Garrett and I will do it?
I think so.
Garrett and I will take turns doing it?
So they won't know what's going on?
Yeah, take
There's
turns
no-
where there's parts where they're interacting so they'll know it's two different people.
Samhain is there. It's not hooked up really, but
Am I
you
supposed
can
to-
pull his
am I supposed
thing.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Pull
on.
his chain. Does it work? There's no great pumpkin.
Why don't we just hold up a
I'm
pumpkin
actually
bucket
suggesting
as
somebody
a
take a
joke?
plastic pumpkin bucket and stick it out there so we know where the great pumpkin's supposed to be.
Okay.
That would be Garrett, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that would be excellent and very fun. For now.
Obviously, you guys have nothing to change into at the end of the show, so you suddenly freeze as a scarecrow in a statue. So I don't know what to say except that it's not even a chance we could. Basically, once the sound is set up so that we have something to perform to,
Yeah.
I'll do whatever we have available, but I cannot predict when that would be right now.
Okay.
But you're doing it tomorrow also, right?
We absolutely are.
And that's it, today and tomorrow. What's the schedule for tomorrow? You start at
7, 7:40, 8:20, 9 o'clock, 9:40, 10:15, roughly.
Great. Okay,
And
cool.
then about every 40 minutes.
Try for tomorrow night's
Probably
better, I think.
probably really 10 minutes, every 40 minutes.
All right, thanks.
Are you standing 6 feet back? Okay, they spent hours arguing about how to make the table you can't even see now because it's behind there. And then they spent a few more hours making
Power
it.
drill loom.
And the crossbars won, which was what I was
I love it. He
voting
gives
for.
credit to everybody.
So as far as I'm concerned, the election of 2008 has already happened a year early, and I vote for crossbars. Yes.
Good for.
I said the election of 2008 has already happened as far as I'm concerned.
An election of...
Well, we should. All right. We are at the moment.
Can't let our fans down. I mean, the show must go on, right?
They didn't come here to watch. They want to see every show, so it was really bored. And one year they actually Richard printed up actual tickets, even though they was free.
Debbie and
handed them out, and he would tell people, come back for the such and such show, and then people would come back and they'd say, this person got in front of me, I was supposed to have such and such show. Yeah, did you write the times on the back that they were to come back for? And it would get to be there'd be fights between people. They'd say, I have proof, I was supposed to be for the 10:15 show. We're like, well, the 10:15 show probably won't start till 11:15.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, that's that.
And there was like one part where he was not involved. No, he wasn't involved. He's not involved. But which makes it worse because he kind of hates it. So, but anyway, yeah. And then I remember this one particular year. There was a part where this girl screams. Because she's supposed to be getting killed or dying or something. And every time she would scream, even though I knew, I would forget. It was like this blood-curdling scream, and I'd think, what happened? Who got hurt? So you can imagine how he felt if he hears this every 20 minutes, this scream, So we eventually got our senses together and said, let's come out of the front yard. We were a little disappointed.
This is the only tombstone that you can ever.
I remember the first year I think they'd gotten a call, so they went in the back. They said, can we come in the backyard and see what's going on? They were really serious the first year. They didn't know anything about it. Well, I don't know if it was the year of the screaming or whatever, but I think it was before that. But they didn't know what to expect. It was the first night, right? And so we're all kind of like this, like, are we going to get in trouble? We probably don't have cover permits or whatever that you said, right? But since we don't charge money, it's all like this is free. Anyway, he says he's going to go out and talk to the cop. I'm really worried, right? Comes back and says to the guy, you gotta check this out, this is awesome! And they've just loved us ever since,
Thank you all for coming here. We did advertise for tonight, and in my wildest dreams, when we thought we were doing Sunday night, I thought it would have been more ready than this. That was supposed to be our week preview night, and this was supposed to be we were up and ready. Anyway, we had some big wins this year, and we had a lot of lack of people working on it this year. So I am going to actually make an offer to anyone out there, and I'll make this to all the audiences this year because of our you are all welcome, if you're interested, to join the All Hallows Players for future years. We seem as we get older and people get families and kids and everything, harder and harder to find people that have a lot of time in October. So if there are adults who have a little time in October, or there are
kids, not of trick-or-treating age, because I never want to stop any child from trick-or-treating, but kids who are just reaching that age where they're not really comfortable trick-or-treating anymore, give me a call or an email, and I would be happy next year to bring you on board into the Omaha as player for either acting, for behind the scenes, for help set building, any of those things.
I have an email from a woman who's interested in doing makeup for us. That was the one. I think that was the one thing that was the one response I got on my email. So I have to actually contact her and see if she's still interested in doing that this year. That's the problem. People say things, you know, in November, and then of course when it comes a whole year later, they don't necessarily need it.
That's my lazy surprise. And obviously, we are about as unprepared right now as ever have been. Okay, that aside. I will mention that, although I hate to dedicate it to him now in this current state, this is dedicated to a friend of mine, Chet Meisner, who passed away about 3 months ago of cancer. And that is hard to say. Anyway, since 1986, he was in a lot of our early shows. And he continued helping build up until last year's show. Might have to rethink that. Anyway. Later, but right now, if you want to see it better, come back tomorrow night. We're going to do what we can for you. Debbie and Lanita, I'm going to say let's skip the opening. Okay.
I forgot my hat in.
Just as well. All right.
Oh my God, that's just such an old mind.
But there had once been a circle of old oak trees where the witches would dance in the October breeze. Someone destroyed every single tree. Now it's pumpkins as far as the eye can see.
See, here we are on a table, sitting on the bale of hay, and there's the Halloween tree over there, and Farmer whatever the hell his name ended up being, McNee's shack. There's the great pumpkin rising up, and the moon in the middle with a little hill with the pumpkins on it. And over here is the cemetery. We didn't quite get those posts and gate in there, but there's Samhain in the background. And this is the hay bale that flips around and becomes the statue that Richard gets turned into, and there's another one over here that Farmer McNee gets turned into. So this is pretty close to how the set turned out.
Hello, folks.
What do you think? What, you just gonna have me carry a gun around all night, just look threatening?
Let me explain the situation real quick to you.
My name's Gary.
Essentially, our sound man had to go pick up his kid from school. His car broke down. He had to get a ride, and he's still in transit. What we're going to attempt to do for you, so that you don't have to wait until he gets here and finishes setting up sound, which could take a little while longer. We did something last night because we were having sound troubles then too. When we rehearse this thing, we play it off the iPod, and we play it with just music. So that means that occasionally my good partner Garrett here and I will have to do some of the voices for you that would otherwise be on the soundtrack.
All of them.
There's one other big possible wrinkle in this scheme. My iPod's looking like it's so low on power, I'm really wondering if it's going to make it through a 15-minute show, but I didn't have anything else to offer, so basically, as I've told you all the pre-story, what you're going to hear tonight is a little show called Sitting in a Pumpkin Patch, and it tells the tale of a poor fellow who's all alone on Halloween night and not even any trick-or-treaters coming, so hopefully let's roll it.
Get over to my spot.
After a whole childhood of Halloweens, I still couldn't understand what it means. And it saddens me, even though I'm grown, to spend my Halloweens alone. I was sitting at home on Halloween night. There were no trick-or-treaters and it didn't seem right. I turned on the TV and guess what I found? It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Snoopy fought the Red Baron and got shot down while the kids trick-or-treated all over town with a sheet full of holes. Charlie Brown walked for blocks, but all anybody gave was a bag full of rocks. Now Sally thought Linus was really a catch, so she sat with him all night in a pumpkin patch. And that got me thinking, what if Linus was right? What if the great pumpkin comes on Halloween night? Then I thought, what have I got to lose? Grabbed my coat and threw on my old shoes. Yes, I'll try escaping the blues by sitting in a pumpkin patch. Thought of a girl I'd met once or twice, and thought to ask her out would be nice. And there is just no beating the price of sitting in a pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green. Now do not fear, for he may appear if it's the most sincere he's seen. So I called up Wanda, yes, she was the one. She was in for the evening. I said, it'll be fun. The great pumpkin brings toys on Halloween night. Then she paused and said,
You better be right.
So I met her out at the edge of town. There was only one pumpkin patch around. It was run by a man named Farmer McGee, right next to the old town cemetery. There had once been a circle of old oak trees where the witches would dance in the October breeze. But someone destroyed every single tree. Now it's pumpkins as far as the eye can see. So Wanda and I, we snuck real quietly, 'cause that farmer scared both her and me.
I'll shoot anybody I see who's stealing from me pumpkin patch.
We found a spot and snuggled up tight. She said again,
You better be right. I gave up doing nothing tonight. Sitting in a pumpkin patch.
A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green.
But will he show?
No one can know until the giant squash is seen. The moon, we watched the moon come up, so round and orange, and oh, the size. There wasn't too much else to do but sit and watch it rise. One time a shadow rose. Could it be him, so grand and regal? Imagine our disgust when it turned out to be a beagle. Then we saw some movement in the cemetery. It was the old caretaker making rounds, you see. He saw a girl sitting by an old tombstone, and he said, You can't be out here alone.
But it's my father's grave, and I thought he might come back to visit 'cause it's Halloween night.
But the caretaker said, No, you can't stay. And he pulled her to her feet, and he dragged her away. Now Wanda started laughing and said,
Something's wrong. Imagine sitting in a graveyard all night long. What a silly way to spend your Halloween night.
But then she stopped laughing and her face went white. 2 witches had touched down from a broom ride. They looked all about them and one cried,
Sister, all the oak trees have died. There's nothing but a pumpkin patch.
The other cried,
It's tragic, dear me, but this place is still sacred, you see. I conjure us a Halloween tree right inside the pumpkin patch.
A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green. Now do not fear, 'cause witches are here. What they want remains to be seen. Then suddenly they had a cauldron, though I'm not sure how. They tossed some things into the brew and said,
It's ready now.
They poured it out as one big circle. One said,
That's the charm. That will keep anything inside
Like us?
quite safe from harm.
Well, I thought those witches were strange, you bet. But it turns out I hadn't seen anything yet. 'Cause over in the graveyard from under the stones rose a whole lot of folks who were nothing but bones. They all started doing a skeletal dance. They sang,
Halloween night, so now's our chance. If the dead can rise up, have no doubt, 'cause death is what Halloween's all about.
No sooner had they made this startling claim than the pumpkin patch came alive with flame, and the pumpkin sang in voices loud and strong.
Hey, skeletons, you are just plain wrong. Halloween is all about black cats, living things like apples and big bats. There's no better place to see that than sitting in a pumpkin patch. fall, we celebrate a pumpkin's fall. Sing hail to life and answer the call, cry sitting in a pumpkin patch.
A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green. The skeletons all shook their bones and screamed with all their might. The pumpkin folk all shook their vines. I thought there'll be a fight. And we were right between them. But before they could collide, the farmer's light went on. He cried,
"Is somebody outside?" Didn't think so.
Well, everybody out there ducked out of sight. Then the farmer went inside and he turned out the light. But over in the graveyard I heard a long moan and a ghost appeared floating by his tombstone. Everyone began reappearing, all the skeletons began cheering. At the pumpkins they began jeering. Stick that in your pumpkin patch. All the pumpkins did shout. A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green. But that was when things shifted again, as Death himself arrived on the scene. Whoa! Yes, Death it was, a skeleton of quite stupendous size. He laughed, and as he did so, fire burned within his eyes. He said,
"The ghosts and skeletons are right in what they say, and I should know. I made each of them what they are today."
Well, I figured it was over, but I held my breath. I mean, who was going to argue with Death?
You may be big, but that's just jive. Just you wait until the great pumpkin arrives.
Woo! Well, Wanda perked up and said,
"Is that right? Is the great pumpkin finally coming tonight?"
But Death laughed again and said,
"No, dear, no. They made him up for that animated TV show."
The voice cried out, "Look at him, there in the light of the moon was a huge jack-o'-lantern who was singing this tune."
Duck your bonehead, look all around. There's jack-o'-lanterns all over town. The top Halloween symbol I found is right here in this pumpkin patch.
Death shot back,
"You oversized gourd. For pumpkin's death is still their reward. They'll be cut open, oh, but that's ignored by all inside your pumpkin patch."
Pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange gourds with vines of green. This foolish fight, it could last all night. Or could there be a choice in between? The witches then spoke up and said,
"You don't have to be mean. The harvest and the dead both play a part in Halloween. Without those ghosts and pumpkins, Halloween would be quite bleak. It is the blend of life and death that make this night unique."
Well, it seemed pretty clear that the witches were right, and I thought that would probably be the end of the fight. But Death cried out,
"Skeletons, it's war!"
And the great pumpkin said,
"Let's give them what for!"
As both strange armies prepared to attack, in the graveyard I saw the ghost was back. He said, then a voice said, and I saw right then that the girl who'd been dragged away was back again. She said,
"I knew you'd come."
To the cranky old ghost, and he said, but then he said, and And yes, indeed, the battle was brewing, till we heard the sound we'd be brewing.
What the heck do you think you're doing, sitting in me pumpkin patch? You get out of here! You get out of here! You freaking whatever you want! I'm gonna shoot you all! Get away from me! Trespassers must be shot! Survivors must be shot again! Lather, rinse, repeat! Get out and stay out, you ghostly gobs of goo!
In just a couple moments, everyone had disappeared. Except for me and Wanda, then we saw the thing we feared. For staring at us both, there stood the farmer with a gun. I whispered then to Wanda, now I think we'd better run!
You think?
Well, we turned and found that our way was blocked by the caretaker, and his gun was also cocked. But he was looking at Farmer McGee. He said, "When are you going to pay me?"
What are you talking about? When you wanted to plant these pumpkins, see, I helped you cut down every old oak tree. But I still haven't been paid what I was told.
Hey, you'll get paid when these pumpkins are sold. But first help me catch these pumpkin thieves.
And they both moved closer through the pumpkin leaf. I was certain any second we'd both be found. Then they hit that circle that the witches laid down.
Oh crap!
Oops! What came next? It happened so quickly. Two bright flashes. But when I could see, I saw that mean old Farmer McGee was a scarecrow in his pumpkin badge. And where the old caretaker had been, there stood a statue shaped just like him. His face carved in a hideous grin, a tombstone in a pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange doors with vines of green. But will these men be human again? That's something that remains to be seen. The witches then returned and laughed to see the two men's face.
They learned the secret of our circle just a bit too late. They've cut down all our oak trees. Now they've paid for what they've done. But they'll return to human form when comes the morning sun.
Well, I said to Wanda, what a Halloween! Can you believe all of the things we've seen? She said,
Who cares about the stupid sights? I can't believe how I wasted my Halloween night! You said the great pumpkin brought lots of toys, flew all around the world to all the girls and boys, but I didn't get a thing, so I'm leaving, and then I'll forget this ever happened. Don't call me again!
Well, I learned a great deal, but I didn't feel right. I was all alone again on Halloween night. Then I heard a sweet voice say,
I wondered whether maybe you and I could spend our Halloween together.
Oh. It was the girl, the one that I'd seen. I said, if you don't mind where I've been, you see, I spent my whole Halloween just sitting in a pumpkin patch. She said,
no, I don't mind, 'cause you see, I spent it in the cemetery. But now I think that I'd rather be together in a pumpkin patch.
a pumpkin patch on Halloween where the great pumpkin was truly seen. He brought no toys, but the one pumpkin boy will make a graveyard girl his queen. This pumpkin boy has thrown away strife.
This graveyard girl may soon be a wife.
We'll honor death and celebrate life together in a pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch on Halloween, bright orange doors with vines of green.
We skeletons go party again. We pumpkin folk will tell a few jokes.
We sisters too will stir up the brew.
No need to fight. No one dies tonight.
I've got some toys for good girls and boys.
Linus was right. I got toys tonight.
Party the most.
We'll have a ball with friends, one and all, together in a pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I'm really good at kind of forgetting the bad stuff and just kind of, thinking of the good stuff. So actually, I feel pretty good about it. But you know, we did have those little crises, you know, and you know, the sound notably, and that was really the big one. But you know, I think I've gotten positive feedback, and I think it was fun.
Every year on Christmas Eve, Santa comes, if you believe, down the chimney with a sack of toys and goodies on his back. And good children everywhere show dear Santa that they care by leaving out a cookie plate that he can snack on when it's late. So Santa's setting down his sack to have himself a little snack. He'll get high marks on Santa's list, 'cause home-baked treats he can't resist. And as he flies off in the snow, Santa's going ho, ho, ho! But Santa's got an awesome flight, the whole darn world.
I was saying to her afterwards, I said, well, that's crazy. I said, you know, even if he's not a big fan, you'd think he'd go just because, you know, Paul McCartney's a legend. And this became a years-long thing where Susie insists that he's not, in fact, a legend of rock and roll. And we would have these huge debates about it, and invariably drag anyone and everyone we could find into the debate.
Hate all plants, everything that's green. Forget the devil, Jack's twice as mean. What?
And Susie's point was always that the Beatles are a legend. But you see, you have to discount the Beatles when you're talking about Paul, which never quite made any sense to me. It's kind of like saying, you know, yeah, Abraham Lincoln as a president is a legend, but you have to discount his presidency when you're looking at him. I never quite understood.
Bet you can climb, go toss down a few, then I'll do whatever you want me to. Now the devil loved.
This is an article from the West Side, where I've actually had articles done on me for several years in a row about the Halloween shows. But this one, they actually came out and took a photo of me, and I actually made the cover of it. It's the only time they put me on the cover.
When a hoot owl hoots and a bat flies by, a strange bobbing light might catch your eye. It's Jack.
And as you can see here, it's Monster Street sequel, because, you know, there were just millions of people out there on the West Side just waiting for a Monster Street sequel. So, musical celebrates Halloween in West Los Angeles.
Jack, please let me down! And Jack said, Satan, stop fooling around before you go home to your heaven.
Oh, look, this was a little review I got from one of my neighbors. This was this is actually from the Thanksgiving version of the set. Great art piece, thanks, Buddy and Jeff.
Being mean, but death came for Jack next Halloween. Oh. Jack had cut through the graveyard.
Halloween party. They searched for the Scythe of Samhain, which at the time I had no scythe, and it became the search for the Pitchfork of Samhain. It wasn't quite the same thing, but later John Zender gave me his scythe when I kept borrowing it over and over again.
About 40 feet tall, he snatched Jack up and squeezed him as well.
And this is the thing. Back in these years, Halloween night was incredibly inconsequential. It was like, it was Halloween, and we had a bunch of stuff left over from the party, so I'll take some of this out for the trick-or-treaters. And it really took several years for that to develop into something that was kind of important in its own right. And eventually became more important, so much so that we just dropped the parties altogether when we realized that, hey, all these kids are really into this, and our friends were old and jaded and couldn't care less anymore. So we finally just stopped doing it.
So they went on down to the gates of hell, but the devil had chained them up real well.
Happy Halloween, everyone!